I mean, knowing Gary, he's probably just pissed because it's a woman. Because, fuck. That's his favorite poison of choice when I broke him down. It's sexism. Let's make fun of the woman. And yeah, of course, I know that. I'm brain farting. Of course, woman involved. Gotta point that out, because that's what he always does. I know that. Well, I guess let's see. I haven't looked at Gary in a while. Let's see what Gary's up to. Oh, yeah, the Indiana Jones thing. Yeah, and I named this after Indiana Jones. So, yeah, let's go ahead and see what he says about Indiana Jones. Disney panics. Indiana Jones 5 roasted. Lucasfilm is sad and broken. Oh, wow. Just buzzwords, I swear. I'm not going to lie, guys. Like, these guys' thumbnails that I look at, like, if I were somebody who seriously watched this stuff, I watched Gary and I took it seriously. I was like, this is, something I want to talk. This is something I take seriously. You look at this thumbnail and you say, this is a guy I can take seriously. Because this is all fucking cringe. Like, this is the cringiest shit I've ever seen in my life.
You stole it. Then you stole it.
And then I stole it. It's called capitalism.
You are so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
Nerdrotic.com.
It's been 10 years, 4 months, and 30 days since Disney purchased Lucasfilm, and what a ride it's been. The meticulous vandalization and destruction of some of our favorite characters and stories by Bob Chapek, Bob Iger, and Kathleen Kennedy has been
Oh, that's interesting. You've named 3 people who haven't ever written Star Wars. I mean, granted, Kathleen Kennedy is the president of Lucasfilm as appointed by George Lucas. But she's not a writer, she's a producer. So you're talking about how it's destroyed it. Even if you think it's bad, like, none of these 3 people wrote it. That's not what they did.
Particularly impressive. Greetings, you over 746,000 practitioners of common sense and the 40% who haven't subscribed yet. Let's talk about a giant billion-dollar corporation subsidiary who's a practitioner.
Hey, you know what, Gary? You trimmed your beard a bit. It's still disgusting, but it's less disgusting. So good on you, buddy.
Practitioner of ego, hubris, idiocy, incompetence, activism, and just about everything else except for what they're here to do. Entertain us. That will be Lucasfilm. After Bob Iger basically tricked George Lucas into selling Disney Star Wars
Tricked him? He didn't want to sell it, but he did for $4 billion. And obviously he wasn't he was burnt out on Star Wars from the fan reaction from the prequels. So it made sense for him to be like, fuck it, take it. $4 billion, he's set for so many generations of his family right now from that deal. And yeah, Bob Iger tricked him. Get real, man. Do you look at George Lucas and look at how he ran Star Wars and think, oh yeah, this guy doesn't understand business? Get a grip. I think an argument can be made he was more of a businessman than even a filmmaker, and in his time, he wasn't a terrible filmmaker at all. THX 1138, the original Star Wars, these American Graffiti, these are movies that there's talent behind those movies.
Something he admitted to in his books. He immediately tossed George's story outlines for episodes 7, 8, and 9 of Star Wars. The betrayal doesn't.
Well, you see, if George was dedicated and said and was like, you have to do this, I'm certain George could have said, okay, I will only take $3.5 billion, but when you make the sequel trilogy, it has to be my outline. I'm certain Disney would take that deal. But he didn't, and he gave Disney full control, and they did with it as they saw fit. So, deal with it.
And there, it is only just...
I think it's interesting. They're trying to pitch, George Lucas as the victim. And at worst, the only person I could say victimized George Lucas would be a lot of the toxic Star Wars fans. It wasn't Disney, it wasn't Kathleen Kennedy, it wasn't Bob Iger, it was the toxic Star Wars fans of anybody. And at the end of the day, dude made $4 billion. So, I don't know how much of a victim narrative you can really push with that.
Begun. Then Kathleen Kennedy, who was handpicked by George, but then immediately became a company gal once Disney took over, got
What the fuck does that even mean, a company gal? Jesus Christ.
Straight to work, she killed LucasArts, killed the EU, killed Han Solo, killed Luke Skywalker, and killed Princess Leia, all while managing...
No, you're right, Whitney. I actually think Disney would probably be fine with it. Like, if he came in and said, you know, hey, I would like to direct a Star Wars movie, you know, like, the prequels got, like, especially when Disney bought, the prequels had, like, were not well viewed. But now there's definitely been, like, a reassessment of the prequels. So if he did that now, they'd probably be okay. I would not be surprised at all about that. And he still made $4 billion.
to not put them in a single scene together. She's hired and fired a lot of directors. She's almost reshot an entire film that led to the...
Isn't that... Well, Lucifer writing... Oh, you're right. Okay, yeah, you're agreeing with me. Okay, I thought you were disagreeing with me, and I was really confused. It's like, wait, that's what I said.
First Star Wars flop, # Solo lost money. She's announced multiple projects that never came to fruition, including 2 trilogies.
Well, Boba Fett and Obi-Wan became series. You know, and you can criticize those series all you want. I think they were both entertaining. I think, for the most part, they both had good moments and bad moments. But, you know, they were well-produced, I'll give them that.
By the way, how is that Rian Johnson trilogy coming? And then Kathleen...
I don't know. You guys have shit on him so much, despite being a very talented filmmaker. It's tough to judge. You guys talk about being canceled all the time, and I have no idea at this point.
Kennedy became the first female to kill Star Wars. And from there, it went...
The first female to kill Star Wars, a thing that is still very much alive. Cool.
Downhill, she managed to make a mediocre knockoff Boba Fett show called The Mandalorian and immediately screwed that up by firing Gina Carano and releasing season 3. Then
Okay, so explain to me exactly how, number one, season 3 I thought was overall good. It didn't blow my mind. It definitely had wonky episodes, but overall it's pretty good in my opinion. Can you explain to me how somehow Gina Carano being in that season would make it good, in your opinion? Like, what story element would Cara Dune add to season 3 of Mandalorian to make it good, in your opinion? Because that's the argument you just fucking made. Like, you can criticize it, but, like, what would Cara Dune add to that season to make it good in your eyes? I mean, I know what it actually is. It's just fucking team sports. Gina Carano's on your guys' side now, so you're gonna root for her, and everything she does is great. Terror on the Prairie made almost, $10,000 opening weekend, so, you know, fucking huge success. But yeah. I'd love it if you'd explain that sometime, Gary.
she oversaw the total destruction of Boba Fett and Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yes, 75 YBA. Kay Sackhoff better than Gina Carano? I agree. Better actress, that's for damn sure.
Completing the failure of Disney Star Wars, and she did pull off the impossible, becoming the first female to kill Star Wars again. But she wasn't done. She brought back Willow just 6 short months ago to thoroughly destroy that so much it was not only canceled, it was pulled off of the D+ platform altogether. And
yeah, that is weird. I guess, like, do they have a server space issue? I'm surprised they pulled it off the platform. And like I said, the Willow series was moderately disappointing, but overall I thought it was still good. And I would say the biggest thing I liked about it was the characters. I thought they did a good job with the new characters. I honestly wish there'd be another season, but well. It was nice to revisit that world.
Now it's Indiana Jones's turn. When Disney announced Indiana Jones 5 way back in March of 2016 with a July 19th, 2019 release date, it was met with a collective, "Why?" First off, we don't want you to break Harrison Ford. He's done a pretty good job of almost doing that himself.
Captain Sum Ting Wong.
And second, what the hell made anybody think it's a good idea to bring back Indiana Jones after Kingdom of the Crystal Skull? The only good thing to come out of that movie was a South Park episode.
Somebody do something!
I will go ahead and admit, when Kingdom of the Crystal Skull came out, I was kind of a defender of it. It is aged very poorly. It's like, I remember when I first watched it, I was like, oh, I like it better than Temple of Doom, and When I rewatched it a few years ago after getting the Blu-ray set, I was like, oh shit, this isn't good. Probably not as bad as these guys make out, but it's not good. I'll give you that. That being said, I feel like Indiana Jones maybe set a precedent, kind of like the Star Trek movies, where Star Trek, like, the even ones were good and the odd ones are bad, even though that's not a great precedent, because 3 is pretty good. Maybe Indiana Jones, the odd ones will be good and the even ones will be bad? I don't know. We haven't seen it yet. I like James Mangold.
Why are they doing this? They're just taking Indiana Jones and they're raping him! I can't watch! Let's get out of here!
Well, Indiana Jones, what you doing in our neck of the woods? Now, let's you just drop them pants.
And that was with Steven Spielberg and George Lucas. But not to worry, the room temperature IQ genius of Kathleen Kennedy is here to save the day and say, hold my Bud Light or Miller Light, whichever you don't prefer. Kathleen Kennedy's big idea: let's do an Indiana Jones film without George Lucas and Steven Spielberg and strike out on our own. What could...
Well, I mean, George Lucas, I don't think was ever involved with it. I think they brought in Steven Spielberg in pre-production with the intent to have him direct, and I don't think that worked out, so they got James Mangold. Like I said, the early reviews on Indiana Jones are not great. That being said, James Mangold's a fantastic director, so it's not a bad choice.
Possibly go wrong? Turns out quite a bit. The first sign of trouble was casting Phoebe Waller-Bridge, famous Hollywood feminist and Hollywood darling who most people seem to loathe.
Really? I've enjoyed her in the stuff I've seen. I haven't seen her in that much, but I've enjoyed her. I don't have an issue with her. She seems fairly talented. Most Hollywood loathes her, apparently. I guess I'm an exception.
Shocking turn of events.
I mean, knowing Gary, he's probably just pissed because it's a woman. Because, fuck. That's his favorite poison of choice when I broke him down. It's sexism. Let's make fun of the woman. And yeah, of course, I know that. I'm brain farting. Of course, woman involved. Gotta point that out, because that's what he always does. I know that.
Another brunette British woman is cast in a Disney Lucasfilm project. Famous for producing and starring in Fleabag, a show for a very particular audience and one I would never watch, but you may know her as the activist robot that Lando Calrissian wanted to have sex with in Solo. Or maybe not, because most of you didn't see it.
That robot was weird, but I thought was kind of quirky and entertaining. Yeah.
Hashtag Solo lost money. You might also know her for punching up the script in the last 007 film
the last 007 film. That was really fucking good. So that's not a point against her at all.
They killed James Bond to be...
Yeah, because Daniel Craig... That had nothing to do with her punching it up. It was because Daniel Craig was like, I'll do one more, but this is fucking it. I am so done with this character. Daniel Craig famously... listen, I love Daniel Craig as James Bond. I think he's done a fantastic job. But, he famously hates that character. He hates getting in the mindset for James Bond. And he just, he wanted to be done with it. So, I think this was the compromise they came to bring him back for one more.
To be fair, if I had to live in a Phoebe Waller-Bridge world, I'd walk into a missile too. She's also been hired to ruin Tomb Raider, but not before she ruins Indiana Jones first, serving up the story trope of the once...
Okay, so pretty much your examples of her being awful are stuff that I largely enjoyed, except for Fleabag, which I haven't seen and you haven't seen either, so... Yeah, cool.
Beloved hero turned into a broken old man who's going to pass the mantle to the far more capable girl who is the key to everything, because we haven't seen that 1,000.
Okay, let's face it. Harrison Ford is, I believe his proper age is 147. He is not a young man. Phoebe Waller-Bridge appears to be 30, 35? She is almost certainly far more physically capable than he is, so it would actually make sense to bring her in to do a bit more physicality. Maybe maybe that's going to be worked into the character that she is more of a physical fighter. That would make sense. I also know this Indiana Jones is going to use lots of de-aging to do earlier Indiana Jones stuff, which would also make sense. But yeah, I think having a 147-year-old Harrison Ford beating the shit out of people might be a bit much.
times before. The other sign that things might not be going very well on the Indy 5 set is James Mangold's meltdown on Twitter. Before I get to the meltdown, I have to point out that James Mangold is a good filmmaker. 310 to
Hey, there you go. There you go.
Yuma, Walk the Line, and Ford vs. Ferrari are brilliant. But apparently this is what happens when you work.
Why didn't you mention Logan? Like, the Wolverine is okay. I think it's a little underrated. It's not great, though. Logan is fucking amazing, though.
For Disney, Lucasfilm, and Kathleen Kennedy. From June of 2021, Indiana Jones director James Mangold throws temper tantrum after fan voices concerns about his upcoming movie. And who was that fan? My buddy Matthew Kadish from the Salty Nerd podcast. To anyone thinking Indiana Jones might be good, just let me point out 1, Steven Spielberg is not directing, good point. 2, Kathleen Kennedy is producing, even better point. 3, Harrison Ford is 78 years old, now he's 80. And 4, it's written by Jonathan Kasdan, who wrote Solo.
Okay, so, first point, Steven Spielberg is not directing. Disappointing, but James Mangold's a good pick. Kathleen Kennedy is producing. She's a good producer. She's not a story person, but she's a good producer. Harrison Ford is old. Yes. This is true. I don't even know what that point is. Yes, he's old. It is written by Jonathan Kasdan, son of the famous Lawrence Kasdan. In fact, let's look it up. I know his kids have been busy doing pretty good work. Let's look up his filmography here real fast. Because, as I recall, his kids are doing pretty well. At least as far as actual quality products. But if you're wondering who Lawrence Kasdan is, and you're not familiar, Lawrence Kasdan wrote Raiders of the Lost Ark. He co-wrote Return of the Jedi and Empire Strikes Back. He wrote and directed The Big Chill. Okay, here's his IMDb. Jonathan Kasdan would be his son. Let's see. He did Willow, which was fine. Like I said, I was a little disappointed in Willow, but it was fine. I won't say like it sucked because I did enjoy it overall. Where's your writing credits? Here we go. Okay. Not that many writing credits. 1 episode of Freaks and Geeks, which was good. Dawson's Creek I haven't seen. In Land of Women. Wait, is that the one I've seen? Yeah, no, I think I saw this forever ago, and I think it was decent, actually. It's been a while. But yeah, no, I think that was decent. But there's not a whole lot of stuff on here. Like, Willow was fine. But yeah, like I said, he's comes from a famous family. So, let's see what he does. Yeah, Jake Kasdan is the one that's done more prominent stuff. I thought Jonathan had done more prominent stuff. And like I said, so I remember In Land of the Women was pretty good.
I'm not sure if he's credited anymore, but the first 3 points are good enough. Instead of being the bigger man, possibly turning the other cheek, James Mangold decides to respond to Matt. Thanks, Matt. Keep making the world a better place by crapping on things in the first week of production from your basement.
Based. Calling it out.
Now you might ask yourself, is it a wise decision?
No, wait. I don't know if that fully counts as a Twitter meltdown, because this is just based. Keep making the world a better place, crapping on things in the first week of production from your basement. Never seen a script by John, nothing against him. Just reality, Butterworths and I started from a blank page. Oh, so he wrote it. 1 through 3 are hugely talented and all at my side. Oh, so he's talking about Harrison Ford, Kathleen Kennedy, and Jonathan Steven Spielberg. Because Steven Spielberg was involved in pre-production. What was his involvement exactly? Let's see. I imagine it's an executive producer credit. Yeah, executive producer credit. As I recall, he was involved, and they were talking about having him direct, and he didn't. Then James Mangold took over, and James Mangold is a talented fellow. So let's see what he does. Like I said, the early reviews are not promising, but they are early reviews, so we still have to see.
Production from your basement. Now you might ask yourself, is it a wise decision for a top-tier filmmaker who should be focusing on his Indiana Jones film to go after nerds, the very same people that made Indiana Jones a billion-dollar franchise? The answer is obviously no.
Well, he's not. Well, I would even argue you guys aren't even really nerds anymore. You're just toxic pieces of shit. And let's face it, everything he just said on there was true. So good on him.
So, of course, he continues, going so far as to call my buddy Matt a clickbaiter and a nightcrawler. Then he got into an argument with my co-host on Friday Night Tights.
Oh, that's interesting, Crawling Chaos. Spielberg was there as a guide for Mangold. Spielberg recently said that he did not have anything to do, really, as he liked Mangold's story and directing. Yeah, how dare creative tweet. Oh my god.
Odin. And then I piped in. I honestly don't even remember what I said, and I got blocked. But this goes on.
Oh, good on Mangold. Good on Mangold.
And on and on. What might be adding to that pressure is the budget of the film. Disney reveals Indiana Jones 5's eye-watering budget. The Walt Disney Company revealed the jaw-dropping.
CBR is a pretty questionable source, dude. Oh, wait, according to Forbes. Okay, so you're citing from CBR, which is citing from Forbes, dude. Can you, I don't know, cite from fucking Forbes? Like, you're taking an article, and then you're taking somebody who looks at that article and puts their own spin on it and broadcasting that article. Look at your fucking original source. Like, that's the problem with these guys. They keep on pulling, from, like, secondary sources. Like, here's Bounding in Comics. Bounding in Comics, I don't think has been a primary source on fucking anything. And they're just Christian propaganda, too. But, like, they like to cite, like, these YouTubers will cite them as a primary source. It's like, no, they're not. Forbes is your primary source, but you're fucking...
dropping budget for Indiana Jones and the Insufferable Feminist. In the announcement...
Jesus Christ, get over Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
According to Forbes, Disney revealed it sanctioned nearly $300 million for Indy 5, $294.7 million to be exact. This brings us to today, and somebody better do a wellness check on James Mangold on Twitter because they premiered Indiana Jones and the Insufferable Feminist at the Cannes Film Festival, and it's not looking good. The corporate critics have turned on their masters. Indiana Jones 5.
I like how he's trying to pose it like the corporate critics have turned on their master. What are you talking about? They had a critic screening and it didn't go well. It's like 50-50 right now. Some are liking it, some aren't.
5 is sitting at 52% on Rotten Tomatoes with 29 reviews, and if you go to the top critics, it's 37%. Variety reported after the film premiered, Indiana Jones 5 gets a lukewarm 5-minute Cannes ovation as Harrison Ford says an emotional goodbye. On Thursday night at the Cannes Film Festival, Harrison Ford fought back tears several times at the premiere of Indiana Jones and the Insufferable Feminist, the fifth, no, there is no fifth film, and perhaps final, hopefully, chapter of one of the most celebrated.
I mean, I like to pretend like there's no Die Hard 5, but I mean, there is one. You kind of have to cope with it, Gary. And yeah, no, we're on the 5th Indiana Jones movie. Just cope.
Franchises in movie history. No expense was spared as Disney jetted its top executives, including CEO Bob Iger and Lucasfilm president Kathleen Kennedy, to the south of France. But when the credits rolled, Cannes mustered a muted standing ovation for Indy's latest adventure. Yes, the applause lasted for 5 minutes, but by Cannes standards...
Hey, I just want to go ahead and point out, Gary, you used Variety for this citation, so good on you.
That's more of a polite...
Yeah, it's actually like I'm blocking where he puts the citation. I just realized that looking at the screen. But it's actually Variety. It's actually not a Chud newspaper, so good on you.
Formality. Oof. Leading to headlines like Indiana Jones 5 receives tepid ovation at Cannes, gets early mixed reviews, which lead to review headlines like this from IGN. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny review. We didn't realize how good we had it with the Crystal Skull. That must be bad. And I want to credit IGN for discovering that there is a number before 7 because they gave it a 4 out of 10. Of course, they're famous for giving the Rings of Power Season 1 an 8 out of 10.
Gary, Rings of Power Season 1 starts slow, but like the last 3 episodes are fucking amazing. So it's pretty fucking good. So just saying.
10. As most of you probably know by now because aliens weren't lame enough in the Crystal Skull, they're going to be using time travel in this, but that's not...
The aliens are not the issue with the Crystal Skull. I will... Listen, Crystal Skull. not a good movie. I'm not going to defend Crystal Skull, but I will defend the usage of aliens, because lots of people like to go after it for that, because there haven't been aliens in Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones is all about pseudo-archaeology, and if you do any research into people who do pseudo-archaeology, it almost always leads to alien shit. So having aliens in there is not the issue. The movie has other issues.
My takeaway from this quote, Dial of Destiny never tempts this sad, broken version of Indy with the power to instantly fix his problems. This sad, broken version of Indy, because that's what we all wanted to see. Come on.
Oh my god, you guys hate when, like, you actually have characters that need to develop. Like, characters that have problems that they need to overcome. Isn't that awful? I want the character to just be like an instant badass and just dominate all his foes and never have an issue. Doesn't that sound exciting? God, these guys would make the worst fucking movies, I swear to God.
Come on, kids, jump in the car. Let's go see another Disney Lucasfilm version of a sad, broken character. From Variety, Indy.
Yes. You know, you give characters an arc that they can go on throughout the movie. If you have a protagonist that has nothing to do during the movie, that's a fucking boring movie.
Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny review. Harrison Ford plays an aging Indy in a sequel that serves up nostalgic hokum minus the thrill. Uh-oh. From the trailer, we learn that Indiana Jones is now divorced from Marion with no sign of Shia LaBeouf's mutt. Also, Harrison Ford can complete the bad father trifecta with 3 of his most prominent characters. Han Solo's a bad dad, Rick Deckard's an absentee father, making him a bad...
Wait, Han Solo was a bad dad? I didn't, like... He died trying to bring his son back from the dark side. I don't... Like, what evidence do you have that he was a bad dad? It seems like a big jump right there. We don't know much of his parenting skill, but, like, dude died to bring his son back. He failed, but he tried to bring his son back. That's gotta count for something, right?
Bad dad, and now Indiana Jones is a bad dad. Then his goddaughter, Helena Shaw, played...
Wait, do we know that he's a bad dad? We don't know that. Ugh, Gary, fuck.
By Phoebe Waller-Bridge shows up. They haven't seen each other for 18 years. It turns out that Helena has mercenary motives. And while Phoebe Waller-Bridge of Fleabag fame makes her saucy, spiky, and duplicitous in a cheeky way, she's like the young Maggie Smith with a buttload of attitude. We never feel in our guts that Helena is a chip off the old indie block. So while it feels like the film is setting her up to become the new Indy Jones, I wouldn't bet the farm on that happening. Neither would I. Now, there's going to be a lot of people saying, I told you so, I guessed it. And you'd be right, along with thousands of other people the very second they cast Phoebe Waller-Bridge, because this is...
Oh, DJ, it's because he hates Phoebe Waller-Bridge because she's a woman. It's Gary.
Disney. How could I say that? I give you Marvel Phase 4 and Disney Star Wars as evidence. But by all means, Lucasfilm, give us a Phoebe Waller-Bridge Indiana Jones film. I dare you. But wait, there's more. A film that inherits the directing mantle from Steven Spielberg should know when to step up. It's about time executives realize that franchises can't be cleanly separated from the visions and talents of those who made them. Think I might know a few people.
We haven't even seen it yet. I mean, he's seen it, so I guess, he can give his opinion. But Gary, you haven't seen it. So, like, what are you even doing? You're just reading a review.
I've been saying that for years.
That's true. Like, this is like the second video I've clicked on that had nothing to do with She-Hulk that has brought up She-Hulk. It's like, these guys need to get the fuck over it. Holy shit.
Years. That critic must be a bigot. From Rolling Stone, there are needs being met here, but they aren't storytelling based so much as stoking the fan base and meeting the bottom line ones. This is from That Shelf, never heard of them, and this is supposed to be a good review. Fine fan fiction. From the playlist, it's a sad and safe ending for a series that once prided itself on...
I've heard actually critics complain about these snippets that they draw on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't know the full issue, but like apparently they will draw snippets and like it's like that's not an accurate reflection of my review. But I'm not going to dive into them because like we just got to see the movie. We don't know. These guys have seen the movie. They've given their opinion. And yeah, if you are interested in watching it, you should watch it and give your own opinion. And if you're not, then you're not.
On big escapades and larger-than-life emotions. DJ,
they use the snippets, and it doesn't mean anything. Hey, Shane.
Destiny shows that some relics should just stay buried. From the Daily Telegraph, it ultimately feels like a counterfeit and priceless treasure. The shape and the gleam of it might be superficially convincing for a...
So he's also just reading the negative reviews. And last I saw, it's sitting at 50%. So that means half the reviews are positive and half are negative. So yeah, So, like, you could probably find just as many reviews of it saying, like, oh, wow, this is good. Oh, this is a good return to form.
For a bit, but the shabbier craftsmanship gets all the more glare.
Yeah, it's a good point. He's saying we should listen to these critics now. Yeah, isn't that weird? I thought these were the shill critics, Gary. I thought we should only listen to audience score because these shill critics are bought off, right?
You look. Still, there are some Access Media holdouts like Vulture, which should be just behind Vox and the Daily Beast heading towards oblivion. How Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny can become a Top Gun Maverick level hit. That's all I can read of that. I value my brain cells, but the news doesn't get any...
It's not even necessary. That doesn't even necessarily sound like a positive review. It just talked about how it can be really successful. Dude, there have been really successful movies that were pretty fucking bad. So, what are you looking at, man?
Any better for Lucasfilm. The Dial of Destiny is now the worst reviewed Indiana Jones movie. And the BBC calls Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny a gloomy and depressing final act. Like another of Ford's so-called legacy sequels, Star Wars The Force Awakens, this one brings back old characters. John Rhys Davies' Sala has a pointless cameo, introduces new ones who are strangely similar to the old characters. Ethan Isidore plays a substandard copy of Short Round from Temple of Doom and has an air of a film passing the torch or whip to the next.
Okay, so after Everything Everywhere All at Once, I so want, I can't remember the name, the actor who plays Short Round. I want him to have like a Disney Plus series or maybe even his own Short Round movie. That would be so fucking awesome. As you can tell, I don't really care what Gary's saying at this point because he's just saying the negative stuff and we haven't seen it.
Generation, but it does all this in an even gloomier fashion than The Force Awakens did. I'm not sure how many fans want to see Indiana Jones as a broken, helpless old man.
It's called an arc. They aren't going to start a character perfect. Why do you guys get triggered whenever they give a character an arc? They give him a point where things are messed up and then he has to fix it. Holy shit. Oh, is he on Chinese Born American? I saw an advertisement for that. It actually looked like fun.
Man who cowers in the corner while his patronizing goddaughter takes the lead. But that's what we're given, and it's as bleak as it sounds. Holy shit. To state the obvious, you're dumb.
You say horrible sexist things nonstop in your videos. You shit on people for being women all the time. But you bleep it out when you say shit. Like, what are your standards, man? What are you doing?
As a franchise before they even got this one started, when thousands of fans could have predicted this plot before you even put pen to paper. And the question remains...
We still have to watch the movie. We still don't know, dude.
...that we've been asking for years now. How does Kathleen Kennedy still have...
Ke Huy Quan, yes.
...a job, split fan bases, destroyed characters, diminishing returns? Is Disney afraid to fire her because she's a woman? Are they afraid to fire her because of Spielberg? We sure know they're not afraid of George Lucas. Does she?
Okay, so she's the president of Lucasfilm. I assume that was part of the deal when they bought Lucasfilm. She has a contract because all these people have contracts. She's actually a good producer. Like, say what you will about the stories. Like, she's produced stuff pretty well for Lucasfilm. Like, it looks good. So, like, what's their grounds to fire her? Because a couple of misogynists on the internet can't handle her? That's not a good reason to fire her.
You know where the bodies are buried? Does she have pictures on a secret hard drive? Your guess is as good as mine. Not firing Kathleen Kennedy years ago has cost Disney hundreds of millions of dollars.
Really? Really? Would you like to provide a source? Like, I find it interesting how everything you don't like about Lucasfilm is all on Kathleen Kennedy. It's just everything. Just somebody who really isn't a story person, who's just a producer, who is a fucking legendary producer, I might add, produced some absolute classics throughout her entire resume, and somehow she is like the worst person in the world to be running Lucasfilm, even though it's a position she's 100% earned. In fact, I would argue she's over-earned it quite a bit. Just grow the fuck up.
And the potential of having increasing returns. But getting rid of Kathleen Kennedy now is utterly pointless. I actually want her to stay around to see the complete destruction of Lucasfilm right around the time they remake the original trilogy. But she did try to tell us, in a way, 10 years ago, from The Hollywood Reporter, January 30th, 2013. Kathleen Kennedy helped Lincoln nab 12 Oscar nominations. I'm sure Spielberg had something to do with that too. Runs Lucasfilm and breaks her silence on Star Wars landing Jar Jar Abrams to direct. I don't analyze things, I just do them. I guess we'll all find out if...
Okay, what the fuck does that even prove? She puts herself out there and is willing to take risk? That's what that line says. And how is that, like, necessarily a bad thing, especially for an artist? Artists should be willing to take risk. In fact, I would argue, like, you could make the argument that that's not really what Lucasfilm's really done under Disney. It's not really taken a lot of risk. And that would be an issue. So, like, how do you want it?
Indiana Jones and the Insufferable Feminist is a turd or not when it comes out June 30th, but things aren't looking that good. But when it's all said and done, this will probably end up being a fart in the wind, and I want you to remember this. Internalize it. There are only 3 Indiana Jones films: Raiders of the Lost Ark, Temple of Doom, and The Last Crusade. If you like what you heard, please like, share, and subscribe. If you didn't like what...
Is that Gary's new thing? He's just gonna say stuff that isn't true and then like push that on Twitter. It's like a repeat of Miles Morales is Miles Morales. Like, no, you know, and actually, like, if this like one ends up being bad, then it's like, okay, it's still technically an Indiana Jones movie. It's like me when I say like there's only 4 diehards, and wouldn't it be silly if they made a 5th one? Wouldn't it be bad? Like, you can say that jokingly, but like Gary and his fan base take that shit seriously, and it's like the movies exist. Just grow the fuck up. It actually even reminds me. Recently, I end up in a minor debate. It was on Facebook, so I won't share it. But essentially, someone posted a Star Trek picture, and it was like of the everything before New Trek, and it was like the captains, and it was all the 5 captains. It'd be the 5 captains, and then the captains, the first officers, the engineers, and the medical officers. And then somebody underneath was like, "Huh, too bad they couldn't do that for Discovery." And I just replied, Michael, Saru, Stamets, and Culber. And they were like, but, and essentially they just came back, well, Discovery isn't Star Trek. And it's like, dude, you can dislike it, but it's Star Trek. Fucking move on. These people are such childs with this shit. I swear to God. And Gary is just... And Gary, here's the thing with Gary. Like, he knows better. He knows better, and this is just a grift for him. He doesn't care. Because you know what? You know what he cares about? He cares about 751,000 subscribers and 606,000 views in 3 days. That's all he cares about. He's just gonna say whatever brings that up. And he doesn't care. And fuck, I imagine his fucking comment section is fucking awful. I'm gonna be perfectly honest, Kathleen Kennedy and Disney have not split the fan bases. I straight up believe that people who claim to like this garbage simply aren't actual fans. Imagine how inspiring a Star Wars fan story could be. They don't want us inspired anymore, they want us defeated. What the fuck does that even mean? No, seriously, what does that mean? Is that like, like, what, they're trying to bring down men? Is that what they're going for? Who knows? Disney, let's take jabs at capitalism. Also, Disney, how many millions did we make in profit last quarter? Okay. Do you think it's Disney corporate that says, hey, let's take jabs at capitalism? Do you think that? Because I can tell you straight up, what it is like the people who work on these movies who will want to do that. And Disney will allow it because if the movie makes money, yeah, sure. Disney just wants to make money. Disney doesn't care about taking jabs at capitalism as long as the end result is they make money.
Books, records, films, these things matter. Call me shallow. It's the